Okay, so we are live. It's the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I am your host, Triple J. With me always is my co-host, Dr. Games 101.
Hello.
And joining us, a very special guest, a guy who inspired me to review games myself, from YouTube, Darkness the Curse.
That's me.
Thank you for joining us on the podcast.
You are quite welcome, sir.
Now, before we get to gaming topics, there is one thing I wanted to go over with you, and that was your election analysis video.
Okay.
On YouTube.
Sure.
I did realize one mistake you made when you said America is a democracy.
Oh God, I already got a comment about that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's a constitutional republic, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in my defense, it's a fair mistake to make because constitutional republics generally have democratic voting processes, as we do. So
okay.
It's not like I totally understand what you mean, and you're right. We are a constitutional republic, but democracy is still a major part of what makes America America. So, but no, you got me. You got me. It was a flub.
Okay, and just one other thing. No, I don't want to exit. One other thing I wanted to bring up was why people are upset with the way things are. I don't know if you've heard this. Did you hear that in Michigan, one county had 6,000 votes that were supposed to be for Trump were tabulated as Biden's votes?
Yes, I have heard a lot of rumors getting thrown around, but if you recall 4 years ago, the opposite was going on, where the Democrats kept saying there were a bunch of it happens every single election. And I'm open to the notion that things should be looked at. But you said, what, 6,000?
6,000 in that one, but it just in one county. There's 47 other counties in Michigan alone.
Well,
and
to begin with, then follow me on this. So Michigan actually tonight released a statement regarding that, in that the incident in that county was not due to a computer glitch, but due to a human error. They believe it's an isolated incident, and even if it's not, let's say it was 6,000, right?
Right.
Joe beat Trump by 50,000 votes in Michigan.
Right, but the point I was making is 6,000 just in one county. There's 47 other counties that also had a...
But if it's human error, then the chances of a human error happening in every single county is a lot less than if it were a computer error.
That's true. That's true. Because the way I was thinking about it earlier today was, it's a computer glitch. Everywhere this program was used, it's got to be checked. It's got to be looked into.
Sure, it does, and I totally agree with you. But the statement reads that it was a human error, not a computer error. Plus, even if he loses Michigan, he still won by a significant margin.
Right.
So at this point, I mean, I don't blame anybody for calling it.
Okay, well, I mean, there's also shady stuff going on. Did you hear, like, in Pennsylvania, they weren't letting Republicans watch the tabulation to make sure...
That's something that Trump's group keeps saying, but according to Philadelphia, there are, in every single voting counting process, there are independent... I was about to say arbiters. That's wrong. That's Halo. Independent... what is the word I'm looking for? They watch the counting process, and they're representatives from both the main parties, Democrats and Republicans. So because of COVID regulations, they have to keep a certain limit on how many people are actually in the room because of social distancing. But the counting process was being watched according to, you're talking about Pennsylvania, that's the state I live in. According to our state representatives, the process was being watched. Also, the notion that Trump lost Philadelphia, which is where the issue was allegedly happening, is not outside their own possibilities. Philadelphia always votes Democrat. Every single time. So, there's nothing weird about that.
Right. Okay. Well, the thing is, Tim Pool, he's a political commentator on YouTube. I don't know if you watch him, but he showed the videos that were posted on Twitter of like people boarding up the windows so you couldn't see what was going on in the room.
That's correct, and that is because when they were doing the stop the count protesting, look, let's say you're at work and you got a bunch of people just staring in the windows.
Okay.
I'd board them up too.
Really?
Come on now. Like, seriously?
Looks like zombie apocalypse made that version.
It's just ridiculous. I'm not saying that, maybe things, that things definitely shouldn't be looked at, but a lot of what's being said is based on almost if not zero evidence that has been provided. Like it's all being it's just being said because
But it's being exaggerated,
to
basically.
be fair, the notion, like people not getting over the notion that Trump, who, let's be fair, has been one of our most controversial presidents in history, could lose.
Yeah.
Like, is that so far outside the realm of possibilities? Because
No.
let's be real.
Go on.
I think that's a very reasonable call to make. I mean, and I'm trying to be, I'm trying to be, open about this because, I don't, usually in politics, like I'm moderate, so I go, I do what I want. But, I've never, but I say this as someone who's never liked him. People's not understanding why people don't like him. I mean, even if you agree with him politically, actually, I just talked to someone yesterday about this, who is right wing and a Republican, and they're like, yeah, I like politics. Also, Trump is a jerk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, that's kind of been my issue.
A distant grandpa of a jerk. He's like a distant grandpa, pretty much. You see him your whole life. You see him in Home Alone 2. You see him in all sorts of cameos. Now all of a sudden he's president, and they're going. And now he's losing it, the presidency as well. So
I mean, he would have been just a businessman / celebrity had he not come out and run for office. I mean, he wouldn't be. Once you become president, you get a big chunk of the country that all of a sudden thinks you're Satan. That happens. It happens to every president.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I was the anti-Obama at the time. I admit that. So.
I bet there are people who hate John F. K. when he was serving.
Probably.
Okay,
fact, so
I'm sorry. Go on.
No. I'm good. I've been trying to lift my friend's spirits all friggin' week through this process, and now that it's at least somewhat mostly over, I'm like, can we talk about games now? things that people shouldn't want to kill each other over,
Well, I've been mugged over video games, so I mean that's
okay. Well, that's a little more unreasonable. Like at least when it's a political argument, at least we're talking about things that affect other people's lives. If it's a video game, it's like, yo, you need to chill.
Okay, I just want to say yes, I get it. People don't like Trump. The reason I always liked his personality was because I look at it like, say I was going into a court case. Would I want my lawyer to be a pushover, or would I want my lawyer to be a bully? I want a bully watching my back.
I've heard that metaphor, and you know what? I'm not sure I agree. I want my lawyer to know the law and come off intelligent and knowledgeable. And frankly, Trump has had a history of not doing any of that.
Okay, that's fair to say.
Like your lawyer, like real talk, your lawyer could be the meanest jerk on the face of the planet, and he could be a bully, and he can, ask all the questions of the witnesses and take no prisoners. But if he doesn't actually know the law or a way to get you out of your situation, that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Good point. I think we're frozen. Hello, guys. Still there? Guys? Oh, man.
In that case, you might as well
To
just
actually win. That is,
represent
like,
yourself.
the most unlikely scenario.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, but see, this is what I like. Darkness is a moderate. I've always been Republican. Dr. Games 101, have you ever had any party affiliation? Republican, Democrat, moderate?
Since 2008, I've been more of an independent moderate.
Okay, but see, that's what I like about this. Us three, we can talk about the way we see things and come to an understanding, come to an agreement. The people that are on social media, like Facebook and Twitter, on the other hand, you say one thing they don't like, and they want to crucify you.
That sounds like social media. That sounds very accurate.
Twitter, especially.
Well, I'll tell you before you contacted me, before I got in here, I just finished watching Biden's speech. You know, now that the country has pretty much accepted that he won, and
Right.
all he did was call for unity and understanding and cooperation, which our nation has been divided. It didn't even start with Trump. It was before that, and we have been at each other's throats. And frankly, it's getting old. We do not have time for this nonsense anymore. We have to stand up all together as Americans and move forward for the betterment of all of us.
Right.
Period.
Right. And I mean, you know, the way I see it, look, when Obama got elected in 2008, I didn't like him, but I said, you know what? He's the president now. I don't have to like it, but let's see what he can do. That's the way I'm going to look at it if Biden ends up being the president.
I mean, looking back, Obama, I voted for Obama the first time. I didn't vote for him for the second time.
A lot of people say that.
I think with him, McCain would have put up. I love John McCain. I think he was a statesman. I think he was consistent, and I think he really cared about the country. I didn't necessarily agree with all his politics, but I respected him as an American. And I think he would have put up a much better fight against Obama if Palin didn't exist.
Oh, yeah.
That was a disaster. That was the worst possible choice he could have made, because I was on the fence until her. And then I was like, oh no.
What have you done?
To Alaska right now. I want it. No.
Yeah, well, everyone, you know what? Remembering that race now in 2008, I remember when he first picked Sarah Palin, everyone was talking about Sarah Palin instead of Obama or McCain.
That's because she was such an anomaly.
Yeah.
She first of all, she was the governor of Alaska, which is a little out there because Alaska is one of two states that isn't connected to the continent. Well, it is connected to the continent, but it's not connected to the continental U.S. It's Canada. Right. But that would have been fine if she had known her stuff. And then she starts speaking, and it's like, oh. And it just came off to me as if he only picked her because she was a woman. And
yeah, that's true.
As much as having a female vice president and president by extension is important, at some point, they also need to be qualified.
Right.
And Palin made it abundantly clear that she was. No.
At the time, she had limited experience as governor of Alaska.
Yeah,
so
it's just like no.
Yeah, that was probably the death knell for McCain.
Yeah, it definitely was. That was the one thing. Everything else, it would have been closer. But Palin just that's the reason why Obama was a landslide. That's the reason why Romney would have put a much better fight. Because Romney, isn't that different from McCain? But he didn't have a vice president who everyone just said no to.
Right.
Of course, I don't even remember who Romney's vice was now. Not that it matters.
Paul Ryan.
That was it. I remember him. Yeah,
I have no idea who he is other than his name.
Wisconsin senator, I think.
Okay.
He's a senator from Utah now, as of now. Last time we checked, right?
I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Okay,
Yes.
I think the political part of this podcast is ready to come to an end,
That's fair.
and we can talk about games.
Sure.
The first thing, usually sometimes we talk about Easter eggs that were in video games that people might not have known about. Now, Darkness, have you ever played Grand Theft Auto Vice City?
It's funny. I've had it on Steam for years, but it's the one PS2 Grand Theft Auto I haven't sat down and played.
Oh, okay.
You'll like it,
and
trust me.
Dr. Games 101 still has my copy from when he borrowed it years ago.
I actually gave it back to you not so long ago before you moved. Remember? Yeah.
No, I don't remember that.
Really?
I must have sold it then.
Yeah, yeah. Vice City is a good game, very good. It's the stories is all right. Can't complain about it. You had to look for. There's a certain part of the game where you had to look for the stories all over the place type of situation.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's still good gameplay.
But anyway, they said if you steal a motorcycle, and I'm talking about like an actual motorcycle, not the moped or, an actual motorcycle like that the bikers rode.
Right.
Take it, go into the mall, go to the record store on the second floor, and like if you rested the motorcycle like up against a rack of records that was farthest from the entry door, and then like you jumped like in the direction of the motorcycle, you would end up like above the store, and then like if you went to one of the ends and then jumped down,
999 hours or more.
That's a lot. Sorry, that was my son.
it's okay.
Continue.
Okay, so when you jump down, you would end up like in this underworld, just a dark, vast area of land, and like the same three pedestrians you would pass by over and over. The person who discovered this Easter egg spawned like a car, and like he just kept driving, and it just didn't end. There was no buildings, just a dark land area with a few pedestrians repeating over and over. It's like the underworld of Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Gotcha.
That's new.
So, I mean, these Easter eggs, they're pretty interesting because, like I told Dr. Games 101 on a former podcast, on a previous podcast, excuse me, Driver actually had a fifth city that had no missions in it, but it still existed in the game. And then the Zero Stars San Andreas drive-by mission, where you could explore the whole game you wanted, and even if you went outside the border of where you were allowed to go, police would not be contacted because your wanted level was locked at 0 stars. But in San Andreas, if you like spawned a plane and flew over the military base, they still shot you down, or tried to.
Oh yes, the rocket launchers.
Yeah.
What do they call cruiser missiles?
They
Right.
made an effort.
Dr. Games 101, I want to get your
Sure.
your opinion on this next. Halo Infinity is more stories are coming out about that, and everyone's favorite part of the game, everyone's favorite feature in video games, microtransactions, is going to be in Halo Infinity.
Not the grappling hook. Yeah, the microtransactions, they should have left that out way beforehand, because unless we're trying to appeal towards the newer generation of gamers, like the 21 under crowd, where they've been adapted to the microtransactions over the years, then I can understand their perspective. But then us older gamers, they have to understand us, and we're still playing the games of Halo. We still understand the full story or most of the story of Halo. So you can't just cut us off,
Well, what they're charging for is ridiculous. They said if you want to change like the coding of your armor to like a different pattern, you're gonna have to pay for that.
Yeah, about $4. I think it's about $3-4 for color purple.
Oh my! I had no idea what the prices were, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I had someone who researched it further. He called himself Enjoy Gaming at one point. I still in contact with him. He's explaining to me that, this transaction will have $4 here and $2 there, maybe $1 for whatever, like a visor or whatever, something like that.
Well, I just did a little extra research because I hadn't heard about this.
Okay.
And there are some more recent articles. Apparently 343 addressed the issue that you are bringing up. And so effectively how it's going to work is like a lot of modern game models with microtransactions do. This stuff isn't locked behind having to pay for it. You can still earn it by playing the game.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
According to them. They are just supplying the option of purchasing them with real money if the player chooses to, and it's all cosmetic, so it's not like it's a pay-to-win system either. And in that vein, I don't think microtransactions are the worst thing in the world, because at least there, you can still get the stuff without needing to invest extra money in your $60 purchase.
It's like Devil May Cry 5 at the time, where it's like if you die, you get like $10,000 to pay off of a partial life, $50,000 for half a life, and then the full 100,000 orbs for the full type of life as well. Or use your gold or orbs you earn from logging in every so often. So it's kind of like that.
A lot of free to play models do it that way, where like, well, I always bring it up because I've been playing it for the last year, which is Digimon Re-Arise on the phone. Everything I've earned in Re-Arise, I didn't pay for. I haven't spent a single red cent on that game because it's set up in a way where playing it and unlocking stuff is possible to do without actually putting money into it. And frankly, I think that's the way free-to-play has to be, where I understand, microtransactions are a part of the industry now, and frankly, they're probably not going away, let's be fair. But I think that if you're going to do it, you better make it so that players who don't have money, like me, can still unlock the bulk of the game and get us good experience out of it, rather than just locking everything behind, well, you want that? $5. $5 is a lot of money for a cosmetic item, especially when cosmetic items don't do anything except look fancy. And
just like Dead or Alive 6, when they were charging for all the different hair colors.
Dead or Alive is so friggin' out of control.
Wow.
No, I am totally with you on that.
I haven't played Dead or Alive 6 yet.
The series, but ever since 5, like, they need to chill the with. I am so over the situation. Y'all need to stop right now, yesterday. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, who's going to pay, like thousands of dollars? Even when you're talking about DLC, it gets to a point where, like, if you're spending thousands of dollars on a game that you already purchased $60 on, it just becomes not worth it anymore, no matter what you're buying.
Yeah, especially when it's like a fighting game, because fighting games aren't the same kind of addicting, pleasure sensors as a lot of, like, phone games are, where, like, frickin' Candy Crush and stuff that's, addictive, and it keeps players there, and you gotta keep going, it's the, it's part of the gambling mentality. Fighting games don't have that, though. It's not how they work. It's competitive,
right.
And I don't mind charging, maybe, giving the choice to purchase the stuff. But as far as I've been able to tell, particularly with Dead or Alive 6, there's no way to unlock this kind of stuff without paying for it.
Exactly.
And if your DLC isn't adding anything like new characters or a new part of the story or anything like that, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, I mean, I would play Dead or Alive 6, but I wouldn't touch, like, the microtransactions. But me, for some reason, I just usually avoid games with microtransactions to begin with.
So you avoid all games?
Well,
forever.
Maybe all future games.
Good luck to that.
JJJ is retired for gaming. He is no longer here. He has nothing to say. He's out. Good night, everybody.
I'll still stay there somehow, some way, whenever I can, but I'll be in Triple J's corner.
There's still games out there that don't require that don't have microtransactions, like A Plague Tale: Innocence, one of my favorite games on Xbox One.
No, I am exaggerating. There are still games that don't ship with microtransactions. I don't think a single Remedy game, for example, has had microtransactions in them.
Right. So I mean, but like Gears of War was one of my favorite series since the Xbox 360, and Gears 5 is just a disaster, and it's not even due just to microtransactions. But I heard that's one thing in there.
Oh yeah. And if you have Game Pass, it will hold it back a bit on the microtransactions because you get the Batista skin and Halo Reach, all that stuff if you pre-order it before launch or get 4-day early access, etc., etc. So
It's
okay. So I mean, yeah.
devil's advocate here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna hate even saying this. Defend the AAA companies. But hear me out. The one thing that nobody considers with this kind of stuff is that games haven't really increased in price in a long time. They've been $60 for a while.
Mm-hmm.
However, games as a whole have become way more expensive to actually make.
Yep.
So it stands to reason from a capitalistic perspective that companies need to look at ways to make their games as profitable as possible, even beyond the initial retail cost of the experience. And I follow that logic. That's kind of why I was pretty defensive of expansive DLC like BioWare used to do with like Dragon Age Origins, one of my favorite games ever, or like Mass Effect 2's expansions and stuff like that. Because not only are they getting more money out of the game they already made, but it's enough of an incentive as new story experiences and new characters where I don't mind spending an extra $10-15 to get that kind of content. But the way it's gone, it's turned into this, okay, but how can we make them spend lots of money but make them feel like they aren't? Well, what if we gave them like random boxes and they only cost $1? And then they'll get really addicted to the random boxes, and they'll spend way more than $1. You mean penny slots at casinos? Yeah, like that. And thus, we have loot crates.
Oh yeah.
So on one hand, I get it. I know why they need to do it. I understand enhancing profits because games are expensive to make. On the other hand, it gets to a point where you are taking advantage of the consumer, and that bothers me.
Oh yeah.
Right. Darkness, let me ask you something. If say you take Rockstar in 2013, when they released Grand Theft Auto 5, I imagine that game cost a bundle to make.
Yeah.
But I mean, since they sold so many copies, wouldn't they make their money back without having to rely on microtransactions or loot crates?
Well, I don't know the exact numbers to know that for a fact, because it's not just a matter of cost to make that specific game. They also have to keep making money off of it to exist as a company. It's not just recouping costs. It's also making a profit, because if you're not making a profit, you're no longer able to afford your infrastructure costs, your personnel costs, everything. So.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So you need, to keep that in mind. And frankly, I thought GTA 5 overall was pretty chill when it came to, extra money into it, because yeah, you could spend money in the online to give yourself an edge and get, in-game cash, but you didn't have to do that. At no point did GTA 5 make you do that.
Right.
So yeah, I thought Rockstar handled it very well, giving players the option if they wanted to, but not making you. And that, right, I think is the best way to do it. Is I don't mind their existence. The choice that it's there is fine. when you make it mandatory, it becomes something else. Rockstar didn't do that. So I think that's fine. Especially when they created arguably one of the best. I mean, they pioneered a sandbox online experience, which is something that I don't think any other game really has done to an extent that they did with GTA Online.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone knew Grand Theft Auto Online was going to take off like it did.
I don't think even they knew, because GTA 4 had online, and you could do a free mode in it, but it felt way more experimental. Whereas 5's online, it became unto its own and something else entirely.
You basically had a new virtual life in Grand Theft Auto 5 Online.
Exactly. Though, since I brought it up, I will say I remember having an absolute blast on GTA 4's free mode online, just because it was so freaking funny.
Okay.
I actually had more fun with that than the actual game. I never beat 4. I just played online with my friends sometimes because we just had fun just running around and doing stupid stuff. 5 was better in every conceivable way from both campaign and online. I'd still go back to GTA Online.
The game is so good, GTA 5, that within a couple of days it made $800 million, and that's when.
That was the sales figure.
I mean, you're like, it makes the game good. Like, no, GTA has become such a loyal following. Like, they didn't have to do what they did with it. It still would have sold.
Oh yeah.
They did it because they're Rockstar and they like delivering a quality product, and I respect them for that. Even though I don't really like all their games that aren't GTA.
Max
but
Payne
that's
3.
my opinion.
Max Payne 3, it's a good for longtime Max Payne gamers like James and I, Triple J and I are, in a sense, but the young gamers like, what is Max Payne 3? And it was come out in 2009, then pushed to 2010, then pushed to 2013, 2012, so. Yeah, that's whatever.
I didn't play Max Payne 3 because, like, I look at that and I'm like, but that's Remedy's baby. and I love Remedy. Remedy's one of my favorite developers ever. I've loved all their games. And 3, I've heard some people like it, some people are like, and I feel like if Remedy had been allowed to do it, it may have been a lot better.
It would include Max Payne's son, Mona Sachs' baby, because we don't know what happened to Mona Sachs in the end. Like, we know that she kind of survived at the Max Payne 2 part where she got kissed by Max Payne, but there was no further story on Max's life with those people.
They took it in such a weird direction. It doesn't even even conceptually and artistically, it doesn't seem like the same kind of game. Because I thought Max Payne always had kind of a noir feel to it.
Yeah.
And 3 is like, I look at it and I'm like, is that Just Cause? It looks like Just Cause. I don't know what Max Payne is.
Just Cause. Oh my God.
It's not even recognizable when you compare it to Max Payne 1 and 2.
It's just one. Just Cause.
All right. So anyway, we look. It might be beating a dead horse here, but that sounds like fun, so might as well do it some more. Madden 21.
What did that horse never do to you?
What?
The horse doesn't deserve it. It's not John Madden's fault that EA has run the series into the ground, and I don't know why anyone is surprised.
After
Let's
25
be
years,
completely fair here, and follow me on that. Madden has been a consistent. But consistently stagnant.
Yep.
It's been the same game for years. And on one hand, I understand, because they can't, like, reinvent the game of football.
Right.
Like, all right, the players are in the game and they're all playing football and they look nice. Okay, we're done. Like, oh, wait, what are you supposed to do with that? But I knew at some point they had to get sloppy. And 21 has proved it, where they have finally delivered a game that doesn't even play well.
Right.
Because up until now, you could pick up any Madden game from any year, you could sit down, you could play football. And they would do that. That is a thing they would do, and you would probably have a good time with it if that's what you're into. 21 finally managed to not do even that much.
Nah.
And to be honest, like, I'm not surprised, but I'm also like, how did you even do that? Because this game can't be coded that differently from 20. How
Right.
did you mess it up?
Well, actually, Madden
It's the same
21.
damn game.
If you go to like the instant replay after a play is called, and like you somehow get the camera to like look at the outer walls, they still say like Madden 19 on them. So it's not even like they redid everything.
So they reused assets too on top of it, which again,
Yeah.
not a surprise, but you'd think they would at least change the date on the assets.
Yeah.
That's pathetic.
But since Madden 21 is a mess, might as well. They had something called a connected franchise mode, where franchise mode, you pick a team, you try to make it to the Super Bowl. Connected franchise mode
So
kind of took that online, where you could go against other online players on your way to try to get to the Super Bowl.
Hey, that sounds actually kind of cool. How did they mess it up?
Well, now it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, wow.
Great. So see, I hate that because like what you just described actually sounds pretty awesome. I feel like that's something everyone would love.
Everyone did love it.
Therefore, it must never exist in an EA game. Oh, people like this. Oh my god, get it out of there. We can't allow that. We have to be consistent around here, just like Ubisoft has to be. That's to release buggy messes all the time. We have a reputation to uphold.
Child of Light.
Yeah, so what happened is they someone contacted EA, said, hey, listen, the connected franchise mode has been down for a week. There's no updates. When is it coming back? And they said, this was a timed thing. It's not going to come back until we have, it's not going to come back until further notice. And it's just like you're taking away pieces of the game that people already purchased.
Yeah. Duh. I don't see what the issue is.
Well, I'm sure EA doesn't.
To me, like, okay, look, this is why the way games are working now does bother me a little bit, because like if you release DLC, that's one thing that's downloadable, and I get that there's a whole licensing stuff when it comes to buying a game, but to me that's the equivalent. Let's say I went to the store and I purchased a novel, right?
Okay.
Then a few months later, I'm in the middle of reading it, and the author knocks on my door, and they say, "Hey, can I see that book you bought?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, man. You gonna sign it for me? It's nice to meet you." And they just rip out like 2 chapters.
Oh, wow.
They hand it back to me. Yeah, sorry, you can't have this right now. But I already bought the book.
Right.
Why are you can't? What? You just took a piece out of the. Listen, or let's say you bought a movie and then you're watching the movie and the director knocks on your door. Is like, can I see that for a second? And they put it in their computer and they remove like the main scene, like the climax of the entire film. Okay, here you go. But I already bought the movie. You can't just take out parts of the. What are you doing? Why would you ever do that? And don't tell me that an online mode that people liked in Madden wasn't profitable for Madden, because
Right.
like, if anything, you would need something like that to keep people's interest, because the only people still buying Madden nowadays are people that are super loyal to football and want an updated goddamn roster.
Right.
Especially for us older gamers. We've been at it since the 90s. I remember my friend and I back in 1993.
on the Sega Genesis. I own it.
Okay.
Wow.
You know,
Damn.
like that's how long this series has been around, doing the same thing every single year. But at least back when it started, you could see consistent upgrades and differences between the game. It was only once we hit late PS2 360 era that everything started. And I think part of it was that technology started to plateau a bit in terms of visuals. You know, you could only make the players look so real.
Right.
Before it was like, yeah, they look like real people. What do we do now?
Unless they increase the Morse effect, where you create the transitioners of the system and make
we
it
have
improve.
other options like making them 4K capable and stuff like that. And, as HD gets better, there are things you can do, but it's less drastic than it used to be.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm a casual Madden gamer. I have 19 just because I wanted a football game for Xbox One. The last Madden game I played before that was Madden 10 on PlayStation 3. And then the last football game before that was NFL 2K on the Dreamcast. So I'm not buying Maddens every year. I'm just buying them once in a while so they work on the most current system I have.
Right.
And that's when I buy a Madden like that, it's like you're not going to survive off someone like me. You're going to have to keep your loyal fan base happy.
Well, if they want to keep releasing them every year, yeah, they have to. Like,
Yeah.
like you can't, like, an updated roster will only get you so far. Eventually,
Exactly.
Eventually, that won't be enough. And
Right.
but now they've released it like a subpar product on top of it.
You can thank
Mhm.
COVID for
Like-
that matter as well. The COVID-19 situation. I should have messed
I
up
get
the.
that. If that was part of the problem, I kind of understand, because I know, one of my favorite games lately has been Jurassic World Evolution, which is a game made by Frontier. They also made Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster. They make tycoon games, and they were
Okay.
steadily releasing some of the best DLC I've ever seen for a game. Ever since Jurassic World Evolution came out. But when COVID happened, basically all DLC plans for the game just stopped. Because they can't... They just can't produce as quickly as they would under normal conditions.
Right. They probably had to send some people home.
Yeah,
They're working with a reduced staff.
They have to, network, and it slows things down. And it does it in
Right.
every single industry. It's a pandemic, and you can't blame them for that. And so if that's EA's reason, I understand. But you know what? Real talk for a second. If that was really your problem, here's what you do. And I know this might set a bad precedent for the future of your series, but it really would have been a much better option to see that you already have Madden 2020, and say, all right, if we can't make a new game this year because of the pandemic, we can throw together a roster update. We'll release this DLC and charge $15.
Yeah. And you know what? Why can't they do that now anyway?
That they can. But the reason they didn't do that is because that would reveal that they are perfectly capable of doing it, and then nobody would buy any games in the future. They'd rather release a bad product now and then release a better one next year to encourage better future sales, because it's always going to be more profitable to release a brand new $60 game, even though it's almost the same, every single year than release $15 DLC for the old game.
Mm. Yeah, and the thing is, to your point, if COVID was the problem for how this most latest Madden turned out, okay, but what about the year before and the year before when there was no pandemic, and we were still getting carbon copies of the previous year's game?
Well, carbon copies, that's easy. They didn't have anything else to add. They got to a point where updating it was almost impossible. What do you do?
Yeah.
I'm not defending EA for their toxic business strategy when it comes to Madden. I know what they were doing. They know what they were doing. Everyone knows what they were doing. They're releasing a near identical experience with a roster update every single year, because as long as the customers were still buying the games, they are still going to provide them.
Right.
This is
Right.
this is capitalism 101. If you are turning a profit off of something, you keep doing that until it stops turning a profit.
Right.
And that is all EA has done. The only way they would ever stop is if it stopped being profitable.
Right. And I think they have too much of a. I think football has too much of a loyal fan base where.
In America, yeah.
With an updated roster is enough.
I know people that are so violently loyal to whatever teams they want. They want that updated roster. They want the new, the new game. They want the visuals to be maybe have one extra pixel on those face models. They want that. They need it. It's imperative. $60 without fail every single year.
Yep.
I'm not judging people, and you know what? I'm not even going to judge EA, because the fact is, you can criticize them all you want. People were buying the games. They wouldn't have done it if they weren't profitable.
Good point.
That's true. That's true. If people want it, why not? Why not sell it to them?
It's just like Call of Duty. Every Call of Duty game. At first it was World War II, then Modern Warfare, then Advanced Warfare, Space Warfare. Now we're back to the roots of Modern Warfare. So it's kind of like a trend of going back and forth every now and then with the.
That's another situation. People are like, oh, they do it every year. Yeah, but people buy them every year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of them at one point. I started with Black Ops 2 when I got the double pack for back on the 360. I think it was 2013 I bought that. It was a pretty interesting experience, and since then I've been buying it every game since Infinite Warfare, I should say. So it's pretty good.
I mean, for all the criticism regarding it, people, I think that's just people getting angry that it's popular and trying to be edgy about it, which you can't be edgier than me, so shut up. Generally speaking, with a few exceptions, Activision delivers a quality game in the Call of Duty franchise every single year. Like, there are weaker ones, there are ones that aren't so good. I heard people really didn't like Ghost, for example. But overall, as a series, to deliver a AAA class game yearly at the level of quality that Call of Duty generally is, that's pretty good. Though it probably helps they have like 3 devs working on it, and there's a 3-year development cycle for each game. So it's not like it's one dev doing a whole game every single year, because that would be ridiculous and impossible, and the series would have imploded by now.
Yeah, my mistake. That's my fault. I should have not mentioned Call of Duty, because they have 2-3 games. Treyarch, Activision, everyone else pretty much rotating every 3 years already. So.
Right. Yeah, it's a 3-year cycle. There's 3 dev teams that work on them, and every year that's why every year the dev that worked on it is different. That way the games always have a little bit of a different style to them based on which dev actually made the games.
Actually, that's pretty smart if you can hire that kind of manpower.
That's the thing. Activision and EA are about on equal footing in terms of their financial backing. As publishers, they are 2 dominant parties in the gaming industry. That's the reason why people always complain about them, because they are the biggest ones. They're always there. Their names are on so many different games, so when they do screw up, it's like, ah! And sometimes it is their fault. Don't get me wrong. I 100%, I promise you, this is shifting topic slightly, but I promise you, the only reason Mass Effect Andromeda was delivered in an incomplete state and had to be patched repeatedly is because EA wanted BioWare to make Anthem, but also wanted them to do Mass Effect at the same time, but didn't provide them with enough actual people to do both of those things.
Yeah.
And publishers do that. Sega as a publisher does that crap all the time. Oh yeah, we know you're working on Sonic 06, but we're going to split your dev team in half so they can make a game for the Wii. Also, Sonic 06's release date is not changing. Good luck. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
It's like setting your employees up for failure at that point, though.
Yeah, I don't know why publishers keep doing it. I understand release dates are important and wanting to make sure you get your product out there. But at the same time, if it's not done, it's not done.
Exactly.
It'd be like if let's say I wrote a novel.
Right.
Let's say I only finished maybe 3/4 of it, and like it just wasn't done. It was a rough draft and it wasn't finished. I'd look at it and say, well, I wanted to get it out tomorrow. Well, I'll just publish it anyway. Like, why would you do that? Like, it's not done.
Right.
It's not done. You can't just no. The product has to be finished. If it's a finished product, like what are you doing?
It's all about the moolah.
Hard to understand.
Exactly. Like, I mean,
And I think it's more frustrating for when bigger publishers do that kind of crap, because there are times where publishers have their hands have been forced because it's just too expensive and it's too big to kill. They have to get out there. They have to make some money. It just sometimes that happens. That's what happened with Driver 3. But don't tell me that EA and Activision don't have enough money to make sure these freaking games are done before they put them out there.
exactly.
Because they, in particular, absolutely do.
Yeah, not to mention, a bad game that's released is bad forever, but a delayed game could be good eventually.
Yeah. And in fact, I would point to Andromeda for that case. They patched it. Honestly, as someone who's played it recently, I think it's actually all right. It's not a bad experience now, but it doesn't matter. The game is tainted by that initial launch.
I remember those glitches.
You can't come back from it now. You fixed it, yeah.
It's like one arm here and the other one there.
You should have made sure it was done before you put it out there.
Those glitches, I love the glitches. They're funny. I saw that.
And the thing is, let's say like 10, 15 years down the road, someone picks up Mass Effect Andromeda, and say the publishers that made it are no longer making games. When they pick up that game, they're going to get the broken copy, and they're not going to be able to download the patches, because if that company's not around anymore, that's left.
That might depend. Because it depends if they release new copies of the discs with the updates already on them, which rarely but does sometimes occur, or if they bought it digitally, the digital version probably is the updated version already.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
But you're right. There would be like I think now you're making me think of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, which was already bad, but then Activision, the only thing on the disc is like the first level, and the rest is like an 80 gig patch, quote unquote, which is literally the rest of the broken game.
Oh wow.
That's what it is. So, as you point out, in the future, when those servers are gone, and a retro gamer picks up a copy of Pro Skater 5, they will not have Pro Skater 5. They will have the first level of Pro Skater 5, and nothing else.
It's just like Dr. Games was telling me about Spyro the Reignited Trilogy. They had the first game on the disc, but if you wanted the second and third game, you had to download it online.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's like, and what happens when those servers are no longer up? If you find,
I think it was an odd decision because I don't know why they did that. That was a silly idea.
yeah.
It's hard for me to get mad because I'm like, I suck at the game, but at the same time, you're right. I mean, I understand utilizing internet and patches and all this stuff, like modern technology. Like, you couldn't do this back on older platforms before the internet was the way it is now. It was not a feasible option. It just wasn't. Sega Genesis could not get away with this nonsense.
Exactly.
But on the other side, it does encourage devs and publishers alike to be a little lax with polishing their games, because even if there are bugs, they can be like, yeah, we'll just patch it later. And it's like, or you could fix it now.
Unfortunately, but as I have to say, just like we were talking about with Madden, as long as people continue to support these games that are not finished, nothing's going to change.
Yep. And the other problem is that publishers tend to take rejection very harshly.
Mm-hmm.
And, what generally occurs is not so much, oh, we understand we messed up, we'll make another one and we'll make it better. It's, well, you're obviously not interested in the series anymore, so we're not making any more games. And it's like, that's not necessarily no.
That's not what you were trying to do.
Well, that's what happened with SimCity.
Oh,
The last
yeah.
SimCity game that they made. That whole thing was such a freaking mess. And then they were like, well, I guess people don't like SimCity. No! People love SimCity. They just want a game they can play, damn you.
Damn them all.
Okay, so moving on, since we talked about Madden, might as well talk about NPA 2K21. This goes back to loot crates that was brought up earlier. They mentioned that they were allowing a rare item that might be in loot crates, and then the rare item wasn't available for 23 minutes till after the announcement. So people that were basically buying loot crates that might not have anyway were hoping to get this special item, and the special item was
getting the item.
Huh?
And had no way of actually getting it.
Right, unless like they were late to the party or whatever. But I heard like this item was like a timed release. Like they only had you only could get it from a certain time to a certain time.
Well, full clarification here. Was it an honest mistake in terms of miscommunicating it, or did they actually mislead people? Because there is a difference.
Honestly,
either way, they have egg on their face, but one is not on purpose and one is intentional deception, and there's a very real clarification that has to be made between those two things.
Honestly, I don't know. Most people that talked about it were taking it as deception because,
Sure, many of gamers took it that way. Gamers don't have any chill. Are you kidding me? I'm sure 100% that's how they took it. It doesn't mean that's what happened, though.
Right. Well, all I know is it was a player that you could get for a certain amount of time if you got him during loot crate in a loot crate box, and for like the first 23 minutes, that player was not going to show up no matter how much money you spent on loot crates. So 23 minutes, I mean, maybe it was just a miscommunication, but at the same time, how long was this player available for? He wasn't available that long.
Well, again, this is why it's important to clarify things.
Right.
And, I'm gonna lean towards the light side of things here and say maybe it was an honest mistake. And if that's the case, you screwed up. You owe people an apology, but learning experience. Make your communications clear when you announce this kind of stuff. That's what we've learned from this. On the other hand of it, if it was intentional, that's disgusting. You took advantage of people, you monsters.
Oh yeah.
But I'm hoping it's not that.
Yeah. Dr. Games 101, any opinion on this, or?
No, I'm surprised just as much as you guys about the matter at hand with the character item and or the item itself. So it's like, if they're willing to do this on an underhanded level, then that's wrong on their part. So.
And the thing is, I don't see a big future for these loot crates because Canada is suing EA Games for their use of loot crates. I think the Netherlands also just won a lawsuit saying that loot crates are illegal because gambling in their country it's not regulated, or it is regulated in their country, but it's not regulated in the game, so it's like illegal gambling.
It's like for kids, not supposed to be for adults, man. The gambling, so over 18.
Right. So
parts of the United States are going through that matter too. So they're trying to file a lawsuit against EA and Activision, whoever in charge of the loot crate box system.
Yeah. So I mean, Canada's I heard was in the middle of a lawsuit. I heard the Netherlands already won a lawsuit. And honestly, I don't see any other way loot crates disappearing unless it costs too much through lawsuits to have loot crates in these games.
Well, it's one of those. loot crates are an example of microtransactions going a bit far. I would argue, because as I mentioned earlier, people say it's like gambling. Nah, that is what it is.
Yeah.
It hits the same, instinctual things, as a game. And if it's a gotcha game where you can, utilize stuff like in the game to get them, it's one thing. But a lot of these loot crate systems demand
that you pay.
You pay, and that's a little toxic.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, a lot of countries, I don't know about the U.S., but like I said, Canada, the Netherlands, other countries are looking into it. You got when you release these games worldwide, you got to take gambling laws from around the world into effect, and I think that's one thing.
I know Germany banned them for their version of Overwatch, like straight out. Germany didn't mess around.
UK is in courts with them right now, I believe.
The U.S. I don't think has made any action so far, and I'm not too surprised by that because we have legal gambling all over the place. It's not something
taboo.
No, it's not. Not anymore, anyway. Whether things will, change here in the future, I don't know. Either way, I don't really care because, like I said, I mean, loot crates tend to be a bit scummy, and in a way, again, it's one thing if you want to charge for aesthetic items, and you can, let's say you have a bunch of, new outfits for your characters. They put those outfits on the store, and they say, this costs this much, just like any other shop. You pay that amount, you get the thing. That is clear and honest commerce. That
right.
Is fun.
Yeah.
But a loot crate is literally a random chance to might get the thing you want. And usually the thing you want is like 1 out of 8. And that's just encouraging you to waste way more of your money than you otherwise would have if it was outright purchasable.
Or your parents' money if you're 10 years old.
Right, that too. There's a reason I put child locks on my son's Switch, because I don't trust things.
I mean, there was a report, like a child spent like 15-20 grand of his parents' money on FIFA packs.
I mean, on one hand, I get your point that, wow, that's ridiculous. But on the other hand, hey, you guys are kind of responsible for the boy.
And the mother didn't found out about it. Yeah, the mother didn't find out about it in weeks after that moment. So.
And how loaded are you that he could spend that amount? Because listen, if my son ever spent that amount of money on anything, I would know immediately, and then we would have problems.
I'll be non-existent if that happens if I was a kid.
If I did that as a kid, I would not be here right now.
Yeah, I know. It's like you can't always blame the company for crappy parenting.
Right.
But at the same time, the company's business practices should not be set up in a way that it would encourage someone to spend that amount of money for aesthetic items.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyway, so I think we covered it good there. Last week was Halloween, and I got an opinion question for both of you. What's the scariest moment in video games that either of you have experienced?
You first, Darkness, if you want.
There's a few I can think of.
There was one game you were playing on stream where like the space came at on the monitor and you jumped.
That was Cry of Fear, and Cry of Fear is a pretty freaky game. But that was a jump scare, and in terms of a game making me feel actual legitimate dread,
Right.
When I still remember, and I was younger at the time, so I probably wouldn't have the same reaction now playing it. But the Resident Evil remake on the GameCube back in the day, when you first encounter Lisa Trevor.
Okay.
That freaked me out. Like everything was set up in such a way where it was like you can't really see her, but you know she's there, and you know she isn't human anymore, and it's just so unsettling. The remake of Resident Evil is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I played the GameCube one. I haven't played the other ones.
The GameCube one was great, and the HD remaster was also good. But yeah, I distinctly remember that moment as one of the first times I was legitimately fearful playing a game. I was like, yo, what's happening? I don't... Dude, should I walk forward? I'm opt out.
I'm gonna go back over here.
It's good. It's fine. There are. I can think of plenty of moments. There were a lot of moments. 7 that were like, yo, I'm not going in there. That's not happening.
Yep.
Fatal Frame does it to me a lot because I like ghosts.
Oh, Fatal Frame! Wow, I saw the demo of that disc on PS2.
All you gotta do is take the camera and get right in their faces.
Yeah.
And I'm like, or I can go play anything else.
Dr. Games, you want to go next, or you want me to go next?
I'll go.
Okay.
My scariest part when I was a kid, I was playing Resident Evil 3, and my friend Jonathan gave me the controller app right beforehand. And he's like, "Hey, Charles, play this part." I was like, "What do you mean this part?" Why am I hearing different music than usual, or no music or whatever? Then all of a sudden, I push forward, and all of a sudden, in the police station with Nemesis, he popped out of nowhere through the window as I'm running down the hallway. He's like, "Stars!" Like, whoa! I was like, "Holy shit! You did that on purpose, Jonathan, didn't you?" That was one of my scariest moments. What's that?
Did he do it on purpose?
I think so. He must have played it beforehand. That's why he let me do it first, so he could scare the living crap out of me. Because back then, games were like exquisite. You get the full game, full experience, getting better and better every Resident Evil, every Doom, you name it. Twisted Metal at one point, like all this stuff coming out. Like it was amazing. But now all of a sudden we had a plateau, like the doctor says. So, yeah.
Yeah, the game that scared me the most, I would have to say, probably is Clock Tower 3 on PlayStation 2. Actually, this is one of the most memorable bosses in all video games, in my opinion. The third boss was Chopper. He came after you with like 2 machetes, and like you could be like exploring something, and there would be like no music. It'd be ambient. All of a sudden, the music, da 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 da, and like Chopper one's on screen, and it's just like, and like the first time I actually got that happened to me, I had to stop playing for the rest of the night.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, Darkness, you there?
Yep, I'm listening.
Okay. So that's the one that comes to mind the most when talking about scary moments. So the PS5, I heard that the controller is going to work with the Switch and your PS3, but it does not work with PS4.
Well, you can't fix stupid.
Douglas, did you plan on getting a PS5, or are you sticking with Xbox Series X?
I can't fathom spending money on a console in general right now.
Oh, okay.
For me personally, any game that I usually really want to play is available on PC.
Okay.
And most of my friends play on PC now anyway. The only way I'd probably get a console is if my son wanted it. Like generally he plays the Switch more than I do. It's his Switch as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
That's sort of where I'm at with it. There's nothing like because even especially honestly, even with like the Xbox, I've liked Xbox a lot over the years. But now Microsoft realizes that it doesn't matter where you play it, whether it's on PC or the Xbox, they still make money because they own both.
Right.
So, like Halo Infinite's gonna be on PC, and I'm like,
Yep.
so I don't need to. Why would I? listen, there's no reason for me to buy the box.
Well, I mean, I still buy the console. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be able to afford it anytime soon, but I still buy the console just because it's like having a pre-built computer. You take it out of the box, you hook it up, it's ready to run.
Oh no, I get that, and I'm not, like a PC elitist. Like, play on whatever you want, have fun, as long as you're enjoying
Right.
it, it doesn't really matter. My whole thing is I have to look at things from my perspective as a single father who already, works 3 jobs and has a child to support. Like, I can't be dropping $500 every few years on the latest phone.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And the thing about the PC is, yes, this was expensive initially, but it doesn't need upgraded nearly as frequently, and even when it does, usually it's not nearly as expensive as dropping money on a whole new rig. I can just figure out what part is obsolete. Like, just recently I realized my RAM was not up to snuff for what I was trying to do. Well, in this case, I spent nothing because I had. It's free? Okay, I'll help you with it in a second, buddy, I promise. He's looking at games on his Switch, but he's not allowed to get them unless I say so. But apparently it's a free game, so I think I'll let him once I see what it is. Anyway, I had some old RAM in one of my older computers from a long time ago that was the same kind, so I just put it in. This is not a thing I can do in a console ever.
Right. But the way I mean, with me, I'm all thumbs, like, when it comes to, like, even the simplest of tasks, like trying to take things apart. So, like, for me, I need a console. I need something that's gonna be that I don't have to take apart.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like if that's like, I don't judge people who play on consoles. Like, I'm not, the console wars are a load of crap to me because it's all it's all commercial hype to generate an artificial conflict, between brand loyalty. And it's capitalism, and that's how that works, and it makes sense from a financial perspective for the companies. But that doesn't mean I'm going to fall for it.
Right. And
We are all gamers. We are all playing games. Play whatever you want. You don't have to. Like, does it really mean that much if someone plays on a different console than you, as long as they're also enjoying themselves?
Nope.
Then why you gotta be a jerk about it online? That's my whole thing. Like, why are you being mean to someone because they play on a differently shaped box than you? Because I feel like there's a lot more important things to get uproarious about than the box shape. I'm just saying.
Yeah, can't disagree with you there. I mean, when it comes to, like, I'm definitely not getting PS5 because of other things I've heard. Like, you would have to I think increase memory. You would have to, like, take it apart and, like, put the memory in and then, like, put it back together. I'm not worrying about that. Huh?
So, like a PC, or do you mean hard drive memory?
Hard drive memory.
So they won't allow plug-in hard drives?
Nope, not that I know of. No.
That's weird.
That is really weird. All you need is USB ports for that.
Yeah, I mean, Xbox can do it, but I mean, but the thing is, the way I look at it, until a console that I'm thinking about getting has at least, like, 9 games that I'm interested in, I'm not even going to worry about the console, because, like, I got my Nintendo DS and there was, like, 3 games I was interested in. Once I beat those 3 games, it became pretty much useless to me.
Well, that's the whole reason I still don't have a PS4, because I do want to play the latest God of War. I think it looks great, and I want to play it. And I definitely want to play the FF7 remake. But that's 2.
Yeah.
For a $400 piece of equipment. Wow.
Not to mention,
I don't know how much money y'all have sitting around. But I don't have anywhere near that to use for something. Look, I wish I could get away with that. I cannot. I have bills. I have rent. I have a car payment. I have a son who needs to eat.
Yes.
And a PS4 will not feed the boy. So no.
Right. I understand.
Yeah, we got a lot older now over the years. First time, like when you're like 18, 19, 20 years old, you finally get those paychecks from that fast food, and you like work your ass off 60 hours a week. You sit down, grab a beer if you're 21, and play all day long on the weekends. Now all of a sudden we got older, and now we have family obligations and everything else. So
No,
Yeah,
there was a time. I still remember when I started working in high school, but I didn't have any responsibilities at the time. Basically,
definitely.
beyond household chores and going to school. So I go to school, go to work. I'd make maybe 150 every week, which is because I was only working part time because I was in school, and I'd be like, I got $150. Well, should I save it? Of course I'm not going to save it. I'm a teenager. I'm going to go buy a video game.
And pizza.
12. Like, that's what you do when you're young, because you can get away with it, but you can't do that forever.
Definitely.
Right. That's why you gotta enjoy it when you can.
Now, unless the government's giving you stimulus checks, then this will be a different story.
No, I'm still going to spend that on bills because...
right, of course.
Like, look, I ain't playing that game, and I hope they get the now that the election's pretty much done and over with, they get around to fixing that issue.
Yeah, I heard that the earliest will probably get the stimulus checks will be on the second week of December, so let's hope that'll be the case right before Christmas.
That would be nice to have it, so our country can actually have a Christmas.
Yes.
Right.
Without the COVID stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, I did get the settings that are going to be on the next Xbox One Series X and Series S. If you want the highest resolution setting will be on the Xbox One Series X will be 4K with 30 frames per second. If you care more about frame rate, it'll be 60 frames per second, but the resolution will be 1440p. The Series S high resolution setting will be 1440p at 30 frames per second, and the high frame rate will be 900p at 60 frames per second. But there are reports that the Xbox Series S could dip to 720p at 120 frames per second. 720p is like Xbox 360 standards. And I don't know. Does frame rate or resolution matter to you when you play a game?
Well, to begin with, generally, given the toxicity of this particular argument online, generally speaking, I'd rather eat broken glass than even talk about it. But
oh wow!
Since everyone here has proven they can be polite, I will say that as long as the game is not visually stuttering, which is generally dipping below 30,
right?
I don't really raise a stink about it as long as the game is still fun. Like, are you enjoying yourself? Then who freaking cares? Like honestly, and I'll be real. It's hard for me to even tell the difference between 4K and 1440p is what you said, right?
Yeah.
Like the jumps, like I mentioned when we were talking about Madden, the jumps are getting a lot less noticeable. And I do think that devs and console makers and everything should strive for the best possible visual quality that is available. But the notion that they're releasing effectively a budget version for people that don't really care about that, I think is a good idea. Because there are a lot of gamers that, first of all, don't have the money for 4K, because you need a 4K capable monitor in order to experience the 4K anyway. And if you don't have that, why are you getting a 4K console?
Exactly.
Definitely.
So the idea of releasing a budget version makes sense. And, for people that just don't care as much.
So it wouldn't, but would it bother you, like, on the budget console, would it bother you that it could go back down to, like, Xbox 360 graphics?
Well, here's my thing. Going down to Xbox 360 graphics and Xbox 360 resolution is not the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Because resolution is purely that. It's resolution. It's how, it's how many pixels are necessarily on the screen. doesn't mean the visuals themselves are Xbox 360 quality, because generally the polygon count in the game is still going to be considerably higher because it was designed on better hardware and for better hardware.
Okay.
You know, now you're probably not going to get the maximum quality that the game is capable of, but it's still not going to look like an Xbox 360 game because it's got better polygons, it's got better animations, or at least it should. And no amount of resolution dipping, unless you're down to like 3 pixels, is going to really affect that in a significant degree, at least in my mind.
Right.
And as you say, well, it could go down that low. That doesn't mean it has to, or even that it will.
Right.
But
That's a worst case scenario.
We're also talking about the budget version of it. As long as they're open and honest about what it does, you know what you're getting.
Right. Okay, Dr. Games 101, you got any opinion on this?
Not necessarily. I understand where Darkus comes from, so pretty much in the same boat with him.
Okay. Also, since we're talking about resolution, the PS5 will not support 1440p resolution.
What will it support?
It's probably going to be, 1080? No, it's good. That's right. It's going to support 1080 and it's going to support 4K, but that's stop in the middle. It's not going to support it. So you either have to play games in 1080p or 4K.
I mean,
I don't have a 4K screen, or 4K TV, so
1080 is. I mean, I would think that should be the quality at a minimum to strive for generally. If they're just skipping over the mid range, oh no,
then
please don't. I can't overstate how much I don't care about this discussion. It's not your fault. It's just the general discussion on the internet because it seems like ever since last console generation, everyone is so hung up on frame rate and resolution, and I'm like, oh my god, is the game lagging? No, shut up.
I don't think any of us could say it better than that.
Yeah, I'm a simple guy. I'm a simple guy. I prefer my typical 720p because that's all I can afford right now as a quote-unquote poor gamer in a sense. I still got the ramen noodles and stuff, so I'm still hanging in there. So
you're still simple.
Yes.
And me, I'll still play a Nintendo game, so
yes.
Graphics don't really mean much to me either. As long as the game is graphics are acceptable. You're not looking at the screen and you're like, what the hell am I looking at? There was a Green Lantern game, Rise of the Manhunters. The camera would zoom out so much, and you're like a green pixel on the screen, and it's like, oh, great camera angle. I can see the whole level, but I can't see me.
Right. This game is obviously working as intended.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, so I don't really care.
Obviously, you just need to get good. That is clearly the problem in this situation.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess none of us really care about graphics as long as the game is fun and playable.
I mean, I still care, especially in modern age, especially when a game is going for a realistic look. But
right.
I do think the gameplay always comes first.
Right, that's true. I mean, if the game's not fun, it could look it could look futuristic, and who's gonna care?
Well,
so
I mean, lately, most of the known gaming universe, admittedly, I feel like we're in the minority on this. Yeah, we don't care. I have seen Twitter wars go on for eons about this specific subject. I promise you, there is a major portion of the gaming community that cares very, very much about that.
Yeah, but we're not we're not in that category.
No.
Okay, so another rumor about the PS5, games will not be able to be stored on external storage devices.
Well, you did just say that it doesn't allow you to even plug them in, so that doesn't entirely surprise me.
Yeah, but the thing is, with these games that as they go up in gigabytes, we're gonna. I mean, they're not exactly putting very big hard drives into these games to store these games.
No, I see your point. And here's the dealio, though, and I can almost be 100% certain based on historical data that this is the case. Sony, in particular, adores exclusive memory devices for its consoles. Starting with the original PlayStation, the memory cards, or the PSP's memory sticks, Sony doesn't like you buying hard drives or any storage devices that aren't something they make a direct profit off of. And I'm making an educated guess here. That's probably what's happening with the PS5 all over again.
Memory cards. Here we go.
Maybe not even memory cards. Maybe they'll have some sort of designated device that expands the memory of the console, or something weird that they that's only for the PS5. Either way, it's something that they are going to produce and therefore make the most money out of, rather than you buying a cheap third-party hard drive that you can just plug in like you do with the Xbox. Whereas Microsoft has never given a crap about that, and it's just like, yeah, sure, whatever, just plug in the hard drive as long as you're playing.
Okay, and the last piece of information I have about the PlayStation 5, they're not going to have a quick resume feature like the Xbox does.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. When you leave the game for a second, go to the homepage of the Xbox, and after 5-10 minutes, you want to go back to it a minute later.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Why? I see no benefit to that decision at all.
Only Sony knows the answer.
Okay, yeah, I got nothing on that. That's just dumb.
Yeah, especially when Xbox is going to allow you to leave off like in 5 to 6 different games that you can pick up.
We've been doing that since the Xbox One does that now.
Yeah, Xbox One does it.
For one game, though, at one point.
I mean, maybe it's because Sony wants to make it clear that this is a game platform, so you want to be in there playing the games, and Microsoft is like, yeah, but these are basically computers, and we make those. Why don't we make it do more computer stuff? And it's like, oh, why don't we do that?
Okay.
So maybe that's the logic. I don't know. Or maybe they're just really bad at coding interface.
Or maybe it was to Spotify while playing Dungeons and Dragons. Neverwinter.
Obviously forbidden. That is not what the PS5 is for. If you are not immersed in the gaming experience completely, are you even gaming, you fool?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just questionable decisions that's I've heard about the PlayStation 5. Anyway, next story. There's apparently a glitch on GameStop's website. Someone's claiming they got a Switch for $4.
What? $4?
Okay, I mean, are the claims substantiated?
So it's not for a sandwich there.
No, he didn't show a receipt or anything.
Oh.
But
he might be lying.
Yeah, that's a possibility, but I mean,
someone on the internet lied.
$4. I get a sales for that.
He lied to the news source reporting it. That's lying to everyone else now.
Yeah, that could easily happen. But that's discussed on the basis that he's not lying, and therefore establish that, wow, that sounds like GameStop's problem, fam. Oh right, I don't care.
Unless if it has some lots of stickers on it, you know.
Oh my God! It would almost be great if it is true, because it's a full reversal of GameStop's buyback policy when it comes to selling you the used games. Oh man, this game you bought from $60. Well, you could do like $4 for that, fam. Oh, you're selling it for 400? Oh, we could do $4 for that, fam.
Yeah, couldn't have been to a nicer company.
I mean,
It's just a generous company.
On one hand, they do it to make a profit off their used games,
Right.
so I get it. On the other hand, sometimes I feel like their margins for buybacks are rather. Like, I had a friend who went to sell the Dynasty Warriors 2. This was quite a few years ago, and they're like 10 cents.
Wow.
What?
And I'm like, okay, you should at least give $1 for whatever it is on.
But I was just keeping the
10
game.
cents? That's ridiculous.
I mean, it was a Dynasty Warriors game, and by that point the series was getting tired, so I get it. Also, $1! I just wanted $1! The disc is worth at least $1!
Yeah. And I bet he had the case and manual with it too, right?
I believe she did.
So,
And
I mean,
actually,
yeah.
yes, I was so hung up on the 10 cents though.
10 cents. You get like a fucking peppermint with that at the local corner store of mine.
10 cents. Wow, that's like the most. Well, no, actually, my younger brother, when he traded games into GameStop, the last time he did that, they were pretty unfair to him too. Like, he traded Saw for the Xbox 360, and he got like 60 cents for it.
Holy shit.
Fair. Fair. I hear that game is garbage.
Yes. But since when does GameStop rate their prices of buyback on how good or bad the game is?
Since always, that's the logical thing. If a game is less likely to sell based on its quality, I'd pay less for it too.
Yeah, but I mean, has GameStop really done that?
Yes. Consistently, actually. I would argue that's pretty consistent. Like, generally their used games, if it's a bad quality or a budget title, it's gonna be way cheaper to sell.
Yeah.
To buy from GameStop. So, naturally, if they're buying a used version from a customer, they're not going to pay that much for it because they know that it's unlikely to sell, and if you sell it, it's going to be for a lower cost.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it's
no different than pawning something. It's the same thing. You're selling it to a store, but the store has to make money, so the store is not going to buy it for as much as they're going to sell it for.
I understand that. But I mean, I was still shocked when I saw 60 cents. I was like, oh, you said
$1! Look, I don't want any coins. At least make it $1. I know you're gonna sell it for more than that.
Yeah, like fucking $30 for it.
I do think GameStop does get a bit too aggressive with their buybacks because they think gamers are dumb and naive and don't know the price of what they're selling sometimes. I do concede that does happen, but the notion that if anyone thinks that GameStop's going to pay the same price for what they're going to sell it for, then that's ridiculous.
Right. I mean, I don't even do that. I bought games. I resell games too. So, but I mean, the only time I've actually done that to someone was when they wanted to sell me their Maddens because GameStop just would not buy the Maddens back at all.
Yeah,
So
they do that sometimes too, where they're just like, we know we can't sell this,
Right.
so we're just not gonna buy it, which also makes sense. I mean, why would even if you're only paying 10 cents for something, like you're just throwing dimes out for games that are sitting in the back room, just like now you have an entire warehouse full of Maddens from last year. What are you going to do with them? You have become the Madden Lord.
The Madden
Good job.
Lord.
Because
You're
in
literally
2000
million copies of this game that no one is ever going to want to play.
Should make a Make fun of those
Especially if
TV
it's not
shows.
at 21.
Make this a reality TV show.
Well, in 2015, someone told me he had Madden 2007 through Madden 13. Madden 13 was a disc only. All the other games were complete in their case and manual. And I'm like, listen, if you want me to buy them, I'll make an offer, but I can't guarantee it's going to be much of anything. Madden 07 was like 30 cents. Madden 2008 was like 45 cents. And surprisingly, he took the deal. The games came to like $11.10.
Uh-huh.
And he was just happy to get rid of them because GameStop wouldn't take them.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. You there,
I don't
Darkness?
blame 'em. Why would they take them if they can't sell them?
Well, I was able to sell them, so.
I mean, it depends. Sometimes it depends on the store. Sometimes it depends on the timing. Like the GameStop as a corporation has official cutoff dates for stuff. Towards the end of the 360 PS3 Wii era, they straight up said we don't buy GameCubes anymore. We don't buy GameCube games anymore or PS2 games. Like they just stopped buying the entirety of the previous generation because there was no profit in it.
Well, GameCube, for like what they go for, I think they could still make a profit on that if they wanted to.
Maybe now, but at the time, no. Especially with the Wii being popular, it was reverse compatible.
Right.
And they were selling. I remember when they had a bunch. They were selling them for $25.
Oh, yeah. And I remember one time, I forget what year it was, but they were getting rid of all their GameCube games. It was like buy two, get two free.
Oh wow, I remember, that's such a long ass time. They used to like buy two get one free or buy three get one, that type of stuff right now.
Classic commercial plays to get rid of stuff you don't necessarily want. You still want to make a little bit of money off of them, or even if they're selling them at less than they bought them for, they just want them out of the stupid store.
Right, because they only got so much space to begin with.
Yeah, they can't you can't sell what you can't display, and if what you have on display isn't selling, you have to get rid of it.
Oh yeah.
But wouldn't that be best to put like on the GameStop website, or like I know they have an eBay website themselves? Wouldn't it be best just to keep it like in the back and display it online if they can't display it in person anymore?
In some instances, perhaps, but that's usually the online stuff. I would imagine is related to games they have in like their warehouses.
Yeah.
These games are like in the stores already, so why not just have a sale and get rid of them now rather than waste money on transporting and handling and storage and all these other infrastructure costs and personnel costs when you can just do a buy two get one free deal, to encourage people to just buy them, to get rid of them and be done. Plus, they always have those deals where you have to pay for the most expensive games in the bundle.
Yeah, but that's the same everywhere.
Yes. But that's my point, is that's an easier and generally speaking more cost effective, especially when that's okay. So yeah, you're gonna put a GameCube game on on sale on your website. What if it's a game nobody wants and would never buy in the universe? But if it's buy two get one free, you look at that game, you've heard it's bad, but it's really cheap, and that would be your free one.
Yeah.
A lot of players would then be like, I'll just take it. It's free now.
Right.
And GameStop doesn't have to worry about it anymore. Doesn't have this thing burning a hole in their shelf or their warehouse or anywhere. It's gone.
Yeah, I see the point in that.
And they made money off the two games they paid for.
Yeah. I see that point. Okay, so the list. So, are there any other gaming rumors or topics that you want to bring up that we didn't discuss?
Talk to me, James, or the darkness?
Here again, yeah.
I'm sorry?
You're talking to the darkness, right? Or you want me to
Yeah.
speak?
Well, both of you.
Okay. You first, darkness. I really don't have much right now.
I mean, I thought you covered a lot of stuff that I necessarily didn't hear or know. I unless it's something like big, I don't really bother with like the latest gaming news because I only keep track of a handful of franchises. I'm so busy working
Right.
I work 3 jobs now, so like I don't
wow.
have time to be like, what's the latest news from EA? I can't overstate how little I care. So I guess the only thing I can think of to bring up is Sega reported that they have asked like 600 employees to retire early, and they are getting out of the arcade business, and this is all because of Corona.
Oh
Um,
Oh
wow.
wow.
it killed their profit margin for the year because they were big. They were big in the arcades. That was their whole thing. That never stopped until the pandemic, and now it took a huge downturn. They took a heavy loss as a company.
Oh wait a minute. Arcades, are they still around anywhere? I mean,
In Manhattan,
Japan,
Manhattan where I
oh
live.
Japan.
Japan arcades have always and still are popular.
Don't
But-
for, don't forget New York
because-
City. There are
And
parts
New
of
York City,
yeah.
it's not, but that's usually only in an isolated. When it comes to America, Japan in general still likes arcades.
Okay.
Okay.
And Sega has been, they have never lost that market until the pandemic, and now they've had to sell their arcade business to a Chinese company, and they've
Tencent.
asked 600 of their employees to retire early because they took so much loss from the pandemic, and I'm just like this. I can't get mad at them. It's not really their fault.
Right. It's no one's fault for the. Well, it's not. It's no one person's fault for the pandemic. It impacted everyone negatively, and everyone's just trying to adjust.
But a lot of people are now worried because, with them taking a downturn, what's this mean for all their franchises or them as a company? Are they going to be able to keep making games? Because there are series that people like Yakuza, for example, is still is probably their most, in terms of quality, is one of their best series right now. People, this year is Sonic's 30th anniversary. Are they going to be able to do anything?
Right.
Plus, any of the other stuff that Sega is behind. They still have a holding on Bayonetta. They're still somewhat involved with that.
Bayonetta 3, come on, baby.
So it's just, it sucks. It sucks to see them, be struggling when, in this instance, this isn't their fault.
Right.
But other than that, I got nothing.
Okay, Doctor Games 101. You want any other stories we didn't cover that you heard about that you want to bring up?
Oh, no, not necessarily at the moment. I just got a copy of the Game Informer magazine the other day, so I want to read that throughout the weekend after
They still
this
print
recording.
magazines?
Oh yeah,
Yep.
about $30, about 25, $30
But they're a
for
lot
2
smaller
years.
than they used to be.
Yeah, but it's like every 2-3 months now, instead of every month like they used to last year or two.
I'm surprised they're still.
Because us older gamers, we're still into the magazine physical copies, the vinyl, the cassettes, the CDs, the audio cassettes, that type of stuff. Even the 8-track. 8-track is still being made today in
Oh no,
today's world.
I respect that they're still doing it. I just know a lot of print media, especially when it comes to gaming mags, fell by the wayside or stopped completely because internet.
Yeah.
Yes
It's
and
cool,
no,
it's-
depends.
It's cool they're still putting out magazines just because if they can still make somewhat of a profit, it's just kind of cool to have. I mean,
If you think about it, Darkness, we're between all three of us here in this chat, including anyone who's watching over a certain age, we're like the last generation to actually know about physical media or still uses physical media up until this point. So once until we're dead, all of us, then the younger generation will take over with the digital tablets and iPhones, you name it. So
and soon all of life in general will be digital.
yes.
Yeah.
Will transcend to become pure digital beings. And then we will go into the digital world and meet our Digimon partners.
It'd be like something like that
Wait.
Ready Player One movie. It'd be like something like that in
Wait,
the future.
I think I jumped into a franchise. What's happening?
All right. So,
Ready Player One in real life.
So one thing I want to bring up, at the end of every podcast, I tell a story that happened to me because I sell records, I sell video games, and I usually bring up something that happened while in e-commerce. So I sold this guy 5 records, and I did make a mistake because I said one record was in mono when it was in stereo, and one record was in stereo when it was in mono. So I sent the guy the 5 records after he paid, and he contacts me and complains, "Hey, this record's in stereo, this record's in mono." I'm like, all right, listen, if you want a refund on the 2 records, send them back. I'll give you a full refund what you paid for those 2 records. That's the best I can do. He goes, why can't you just send me the refund and I get to keep the records?
What?
I'm like,
what? That wasn't work like
That's not how
that.
commercial exchange works.
I mean, I like free stuff too, but there's a payment in every transaction.
I'm like, that's not how it works. He's like, well, you screwed up, so you should have to pay for it. And I'm just...
This is why.
Communism in the
I
works.
may work 3 jobs. But you know what I don't do? Customer service. Because, no.
Too many communists in this United States.
Not even that. It's just people thinking if you mess up, you have to pay for it and make it better than it would have been if you didn't mess up.
Those SJWs like to take over things.
It's a sense of entitlement to a certain degree. Like if you screw up, oh no, you have to pay them. No. It's all about making you whole.
Right.
Like let's say I don't know. Like if I were him, what I would have asked, well, it costs different. If these are different kinds, like what do you charge differently, and can you send me, the difference?
Right.
Like that's what I would have wanted to know. But if you want a full refund, yeah, send the disc back because you're not keeping the product and getting your money back. That is not how that works.
Yeah, there's a lot of younger guys think that everything's free in this world because they never experienced handling transactions or banking or economics. I don't think they never even taught about that in school yet. And if they were taught about it, it's a comfy, touchy-feely, unicorns and puppies type of love learning, so.
I mean, I had economics in high school. And, to a certain degree, they do teach. I think it's less the education system in general, not being taught, is that it hits a point where I don't think my generation in particular, I'm not going to discuss other generations because I didn't go to school with them, but I promise you there are plenty of people that were there that simply didn't want to learn. So it's not so much the content or the information is not being taught, it's that we as a culture and society have lost the will or desire to know stuff. So when you get to adulthood and you're like, oh, I needed to know that stuff? Well, they just never taught me. No, I was there. They taught us.
Right on.
You just didn't pay attention.
Just we're sleeping in the back of the classroom. That is not the same thing.
Yeah.
I think we're all guilty of that in one class or another. I know I am.
I mean, it happens to the best of us.
Chemistry for me. I sucked at chemistry.
Because admittedly, in the student's defense, school days are long, they're hard, you have to wake up. Even I woke up earlier for school than I do for my adult jobs.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And then you're in there all day, and you're told exactly where to go and when to do it and everything, and it gets mentally exhausting.
Tell me about it. But it's worth it. You get a basic education. You're able to work at McDonald's without no problems.
But it isn't. The issue to me is not so much that the information is not being taught to these students. It's that the students don't necessarily have the desire to learn, and part of them not having the desire to learn is that they are put in a system that is not kind to the human psychological construct. Like, they don't make school enjoyable. It becomes a chore after a while.
Right.
And I think if we made it so that school was actually something that people liked, maybe then people would actually know stuff.
Or know more than we walk away with now.
Yes.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I mean, but then again, there's only so much you can do to make learning fun.
Oh no, and I get that. You can't. I don't believe especially when it comes to economics or the government or schools or anything any kind of social service, there is no perfect system.
Oh yeah.
Every single system that you put forward is going to have flaws, and you're gonna run into students that just don't want to learn, won't do it, grow up, and then complain about it. But it's their fault. That is going to happen. But there are ways we can look at our system right now and say we can make this better, and then do it.
Right. Right. That's why teachers like sometimes play games in their classroom, just so it's not just copy down what I write on the board.
And especially with COVID, and especially with COVID-19.
Real talk. If there's anything I friggin' hated about,
Go on.
it is sitting there and being forced to take notes off the frickin' chalkboard. Nobody wants to do that. If your teaching method involves that at all, then you need a new method. Because everyone hates that.
Yep.
Tedious, but it's something for now.
I'm not saying notes shouldn't be an option. Some people need notes to study. That's fine. But
Right.
it's mandatory.
Yeah.
And
But
well, this stuff
But
I'm putting on the test that isn't in the textbook. Why isn't it in the textbook? Is the book
Right.
taught?
Yeah. Why are we learning if it's not in the textbook?
You should probably get new books. Oh, the government slashed the school budget? Well, admittedly, that's an entirely separate problem we should talk about.
Actually, my best friend had that problem. Like, he was in high school, like junior high, actually, 7th, 8th grade, and he said like the textbooks were like from 1985. Everybody in them had mullets. There was like writing on all the pages. That
Here's my dealio. Here's my dealio. When it comes to public schools in our system, if we as a country can afford 10 freaking super carriers for the U.S. Navy at multiple billions of dollars to produce and maintain, do not sit there as a politician and tell me that schools are too expensive to have up-to-date resources.
Yeah.
You shut up.
Yeah, that F-35 is like $100 million
Shut up
per.
right now.
Yep.
F-16s are worth like tens of millions of dollars.
And meanwhile, the school budget's like what, 5 figures?
Something I don't know, but I
It's about $1 trillion for the. If you refer to the higher education.
Every time a politician says this is too expensive to fund, I want to scream. Because I have seen the way they spend money, and I have seen the stuff we spend money on, and I'm like, so you can put, precedents on. Look, the you know how many super carriers China has?
Oh
No.
About
2.
100. Oh, that was loud.
You know
2?
how many Russia has?
1.
1.
Yeah.
And theirs is still diesel powered. Ours are nuclear powered.
That surprised me.
Do you know how many we have?
We have 10. Like I said,
Oh wow.
we have 10. If we had taken the billions and billions that we put into making 10 of those, and perhaps dropped it to 9, so we had a few extra billions, and shoved it into the school system, we'd still maintain military dominance by a significant margin, and have a populace that might be a little less rock stupid. That is what I am saying.
Hard to argue against.
Good point.
Because I'm not someone who's against military spending. Other countries have grown to kind of depend on the U.S. having a dominant military presence. I get that. But there are ways we can trim the roots.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Aircraft carriers. Nuclear powered.
Fight the
Kind
laser.
of stuff supervillains come up with.
That's true. Okay, so this is where we're gonna end the podcast. The next podcast will be 2 weeks from tonight on November 21st at 9 p.m. Darkness, if you can make that, I'd love to have you join us again.
Possibly, but I figured
Okay.
this might be only a one-time deal. I do my own solo thing a lot, but thank you for having me. Definitely,
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
As always.
you guys both seem cool, and thanks to you and to the viewers at large, yeah.
And I want to say not only thank you for joining us, but thank you. I did say you were inspiration why I started reviewing video games myself. Didn't you say on your YouTube channel, your very first one, that Big Al was an inspiration to you?
With ranting, yes.
Oh, with ranting. Okay.
Yeah.
Who inspired you to start reviewing video games?
Well, I got started back when angry video game reviewing fad on YouTube. So, RMake, Urinating Tree, AVGN, everyone. I just jumped on that bandwagon at the time.
Okay.
And I could have sworn I seen some of your videos in the past too, Darkness. I don't remember. It's been like, you know, we go back as far as 2012. So by 2016, I was seeing all sorts of information from all sorts of YouTubers, you name it. So it's like, it's hard to remember exactly. But no, I remember seeing something like you before. So, yeah, it's a pleasure.
I started making videos in 2007 on my first account.
Okay.
So it's been 13 years.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
I just go to YouTube. Oh, go on.
No, that's okay. So if you run into me, it wouldn't surprise me. But because I keep having major depressive episodes and deleting all my stuff.
I understand the feeling.
I have jumped around. I finally went back to my roots and called myself Darkness the Curse again, and I've been trying to stick with this one channel. I've had this channel longer than any other so far, and I'm sticking with it. So I did make a promise to everyone following me now that I wouldn't delete my channel ever again, even if I decided to stop making videos for a while.
And that's why students doesn't go down the tubes like they're going on right now with their copyright and community guidelines.
And
Hopeless stuff.
trying to push.
I know we're closing, but I gotta break. I adore it when anyone nowadays complains about YouTube's copyright system, because I promise you, this is leaps and bounds superior to the way it used to be.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day, if you had a copyright strike on your channel, you were gone.
Oh wow.
They just, like, you got strike. There was no way to appeal it. They would just, and it didn't matter if the copyright strike was legitimate. Like, there was a dude going around just making false claims in everybody's videos. 1, 2, 3, your channel's gone. The appeal process was not built into the site. You had to go. You could appeal, but it was a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm. And
that was a nightmare. Now, yes, copyright is a thing. You can get claims, you can get, shared revenue and stuff like that. But I much prefer, like, okay, I use some of your content. You want to share revenue, or you want to take the revenue off the video? You know what? It's your content. I'll take that, as long as you don't delete everything, which is the way it used to be. So, is it the perfect system? No. But it's way better than it was.
Right. I mean, so you started your account in 2007. I discovered YouTube in 2008, and you were actually one of the first reviewers I discovered from your Home Alone review. I'm talking about your original Home Alone review on the Genesis.
That was the very loud one.
I think Home Alone 2 was louder.
Pretty sure all my videos were loud back then. That was my thing. I usually explain this to people, because people are like, well, what were you in the vein of angry reviews? Well, if you compare angry reviews to music, you have AVGN, who's kind of like classic rock.
Mm-hmm.
You have, like, Urinating Tree, who's like heavy metal. You have RMake, who's like modern alternative grunge style. And then you have me, Screamo.
So it's like from Devil May Cry 5. I'm going to explode!
It's That's what I did. I was an angry teen, and I screamed. And you know what? For every person who didn't care for that, there was an audience that thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
So it worked for me.
But it's good to meet you directly, Dark Darkness. It's a pleasure once again. So yeah, Jace.
And again, if you want to join us 2 weeks, the invitation's out there.
I appreciate it, Rapper.
All right, so this has been this was episode 7 of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I am Triple J, my co-host Dr. Games 101, and Darkness the Curse. Good night, everyone.
Hey guys.